delivered over the past 3.5 years. 10 to 15 million plus illegal crossings, Mr. Speaker, drug cartels, human trafficking, migrant crime, and yes, non-citizens registering to vote. It's an unmitigated disaster, but the legislation we're considering here gives us an opportunity to address part of the problem by prohibiting non-citizens from voting while keeping our government running. Mr. Speaker, while it is written in our Constitution that only U.S. citizens can vote, the SAVE Act attached to this continuing resolution prohibits bad actors from registering non-citizens and non-citizens from registering to vote, and requires states to purge their voter rolls of all non-citizens, such as illegal immigrants. To anyone considering opposing this bill, a no vote implies, states, that the American people, to the American people, why the Biden administration has left the border open in the first place for potentially more votes.
Yield the gentleman an additional 30 seconds.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. The American people want this bill to pass. They need this bill to pass. It will help as well restore confidence in our elections. So let's do the right thing on a bipartisan basis as we head towards this momentous election. Let's do what we came here today to ensure, what we can do here today to ensure that only U.S. citizens can register and vote in federal elections. I urge my colleagues to pass the SAVE Act, safeguard our elections, and fund our government. I yield back.
The gentleman from Pennsylvania yields back. The gentleman from Oklahoma reserves. The gentlewoman from Connecticut is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from California, the distinguished ranking member of the Veterans Affairs Committee, Mr. Takano.
The gentleman from California is recognized.
I thank the gentleman from Connecticut for yielding. Mr. Speaker, I rise in opposition to H.R. 9494, a fundamentally flawed attempt by the Republican leadership to save face for their inability to govern, and a bill which lacks $12 billion in critical funding for the Veterans Health Administration. Leaving out this critical funding for veterans health care is the latest in a cynical political game playing we have seen in this Congress. It is blatant, and I know my stating this fact will cause some howling complaints on the other side, just as it did last night when the House approved almost $3 billion in funding for the Veterans Benefit Administration. But this was done with a lot of misinformation and mudslinging about how this is all the fault of the Biden-Harris administration, rather than the recognition that this is the bill coming due for the true cost of war and what we owe to veterans, which we finally started paying with the Honoring Our Pact Act. This is not a last-minute request, and it is certainly not grounded in mismanagement, despite my Republican colleagues making this accusation. This $12 billion shortfall is a direct result of President Biden and VA's rapid implementation of the Honoring Our Pact Act, which I got signed into law in 2022. VA Secretary McDonough told Congress in July that the Veterans Health Administration will need the $12 billion to continue to provide world-class care and ensure it has the resources and staff to uphold that standard. Therefore, why not include the needed funds in the CR? My colleagues think that I am somehow opposed to oversight on this issue, which is not true. I support oversight when it is well-intentioned, and we want to ensure we improve the budget process and not put veterans in a position that they become concerned about the availability of health care or benefits. I agree with my colleagues' calls for more oversight, but let's be honest about that oversight, because what is needed is significantly more oversight of the funding going from VHA direct care to for-profit health care. A part of the budget has grown over 15% year after year, and this is unsustainable. With these growing costs, you would think the Veterans Affairs Committee would have held several oversight hearings to determine whether veterans are receiving the same quality of care by the for-profit providers and that taxpayers are getting the best value from these providers. We have held no such hearings. VA has been transparent about both the VBA and VHA shortfalls. The VBA supplemental passed the House unanimously last night and is awaiting prompt action in the Senate. The need for the VHA funding is fast approaching, so why add the uncertainty for veterans who receive their care at VA? Let's end the political games and get serious. Have my colleagues across the aisle proposed a plan? Additional 30 seconds.
The gentleman's time has
Yield
expired.
the gentleman an additional 30 seconds.
The
Have
gentleman
my
is
colleagues
recognized.
across the aisle proposed a plan to their leadership to address these additional funds that VA needs? No, of course not. They would rather point fingers under the guise of accountability than legislate and in the process, shortchanging veterans. Why do my colleagues insist on wasting time? We are wasting time voting today on a CR we know will not pass and will never become law, and we are wasting time by not doing our jobs and prioritizing funding for the VA. We have the opportunity to stand with veterans and fix this now. I yield back.
The gentleman from California yields back. The gentlewoman from Connecticut reserves. The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to my very good friend, distinguished gentleman from Florida, Mr. Bean.
The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. One citizen, one vote. It's the foundation of our government, and it's the ability to vote in a free and fair election. But the pillar of our democracy is under vicious attack because the Biden-Harris administration refuses to enforce the law. Since 2021, this administration has allowed over 10 million illegal immigrants into our nation. It's the most, Mr. Speaker, in recorded history. That number is greater than the population of 36 existing states. Mr. Speaker, the far left claims illegals are not registering to vote. They claim illegals are not voting in our election. They claim it's already illegal. They claim that the SAVE Act is not needed. Mr. Speaker, I've got some breaking news. It is happening. I spoke to my supervisor in Nassau County, Florida, Janet Atkins, yesterday. She has indeed found illegals that have already registered to vote and have already voted in previous elections. She's working on cleaning up the rolls. Our team reached out to other election supervisors in my district in Northeast Florida, Duval County, Jacksonville, Florida, the office of Jerry Holland, and Clay County, the office of Chris Chambliss. Both of them also found illegal immigrants that have voted. Oh, wait a minute. Is it not happening? That's what I hear. It's not needed, but it is. I challenge each of you, call your supervisor. Ask them, is it happening in my county? And then what are you doing to ensure that we have free and fair elections and only a citizen vote? How do you know? How do they know? The best example is it's already illegal for a minor to purchase alcohol. But yet we still card them, yet we still enforce the law, and 87% of Americans want our election laws enforced. I guess the 13% that don't are sitting on that side of the aisle, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I urge you to pass this SAVE Act. I yield back.
The gentleman from Florida yields back. The gentleman from Oklahoma reserves. The gentlewoman from Connecticut is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from New York, Mr. Kennedy.
The gentleman from New York is recognized.
I thank Ranking Member DeLauro for yielding me time, Mr. Speaker. I rise in strong opposition to this extreme MAGA Republican continuing resolution that will defund our veterans. We have mere days to fund the government and avoid a shutdown that will force millions of federal employees to be without pay, halt work on critical infrastructure projects, and prevent Americans from receiving the benefits they rely on. But unfortunately, extreme MAGA Republicans have abdicated their responsibility to govern even further. This continuing resolution fails to meet the needs of our heroes who have fought and served in our nation's military. It shortchanges our veterans by $12 billion. This is funding that is desperately needed by the Department of Veterans Affairs to maintain its workforce at VA hospitals across the country, which is critical to providing the quality of medical services our veterans need. Without the full $12 billion included in the continuing resolutions, the VA is being forced to make choices regarding care that could degrade services for patients, reduce support for veterans experiencing homelessness, and limit programs that support caregivers. We are already seeing the harm being done from a lack of resources for the VA across our country. In my district, the Buffalo VA does not have the funding needed to maintain its workforce, driving nurses to the picket line to call for more hires, all while patients are receiving delayed care in crumbling facilities. It is unacceptable, and it will directly impact the 40,000 veterans living in my district and more than 18 million veterans across the country. This disastrous budget also comes as the PACT Act brings a record number of benefits to our veterans, including those who were exposed to toxic burn pits during tours in Iraq and Afghanistan while defending our nation, and who deserve to receive the benefits they have earned. Now is not the time to disinvest from our veterans. We need to follow through with the bipartisan commitment this body made to make the men and women who served in our military whole. And in funding the United States government, we need to deliver for the heroes who have sacrificed so much for our country. I strongly urge my colleagues to vote against this measure as is and work with us to pass a clean CR that ensures our nation's veterans are treated with the dignity and respect that they rightfully deserve. I yield back.
The gentleman from New York yields. The gentlewoman from Connecticut reserves. The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I reserve.
The gentleman from Oklahoma reserves. The gentlewoman from Connecticut is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I am prepared to close.
The gentlewoman is prepared to close.
I advise my friend I'm prepared to close as well.
The gentleman from Oklahoma reserves. The gentlewoman from Connecticut is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, let me state a fact. The Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act of 1996 prohibits non-citizens from voting in federal elections. It is not legal in any state for a non-citizen to vote for a federal office. It is the law of the land of the United States. Moving to appropriations, vote no on this bill. This bill is an admission that the House Republican majority cannot govern. It abandons veterans, it abandons our military, our Social Security recipients, and our cities and families who are grappling with disasters and no disaster relief. Let me just say this, that I believe that every appropriator on both sides of the aisle would prefer a 3-month continuing resolution. Republicans and Democrats need to come to the table. Let us move to setting a date in December. Let us get on with the business of governing, hammer out the programs and the numbers with regard to the programs, and let the American people know that we are working on their behalf. Mr. Speaker, to my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, particularly my Republican colleagues, it is now time to govern. Stop the game playing. Stop the foolishness and the wasting of the time we have, and let's get on to the business of the American people. I yield back.
The gentlewoman from Connecticut yields back. The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I yield myself the balance of my time. As usual, Mr. Speaker, these debates, particularly at these moments, get a little overheated. And I think we've seen a lot of that. But I think the essence of what we're talking about here is pretty simple. And I think some of the charges that have been made against my colleagues in the majority are pretty ridiculous. We're told we want to shut down the government. Really? What we're proposing actually keeps the government open longer than anything my friends on the other side are proposing. You know, we're told we didn't get our work done. Really? The United States Senate hasn't passed a single bill. You know, it has not passed all of its bills out of committee. And to be fair to my friends, and I've been around here a long time, when you were in the majority, you never got 71% of the bills passed in time, the money spent, because you couldn't pass a defense bill. You've never been able to do that. Once you do that, you frankly exceed whatever the Democratic target was. So all of this stuff about not getting your work done or whatever, or, my gosh, you're not taking care of veterans. We gave this administration more money than it asked for veterans. Now, at the last minute, we come back. I am for the PAC Act. I voted for the PAC Act. I'm anxious to make sure it's appropriately funded. But if you think I'm going to take the word of this administration's Department of Veterans Affairs at face value, no, I'm not. Frankly, that agency has a long history of surprising administrations at the last minute, and this one is particularly bad. So we're more than happy to deal with this. It doesn't have to be dealt with in a CR. It ought to be dealt with in the full bill during the final negotiation. And that's true for most of the things my friends have brought up. They like to talk about a clean CR and then give you a list as long as your arm of what's not in it. You know, a clean CR is a clean CR. It's not full of all these other things that you're requesting and demanding. So make up your mind which one it is. Now let's talk about what this bill does. It's pretty simple. It keeps the government open till the end of March, or roughly March 28th, about 6 months. If we can get our business done faster, I'm with my friend, the ranking member. I would prefer to do that. But looking at the record of Congress, I wouldn't hold my breath. So having some extra time is not a bad idea. Second, I'm extraordinarily perplexed that the idea of reaffirming in a time of unmitigated disaster at the southern border that you got to be an American citizen to vote in an election is somehow controversial is mystifying. Frankly, we have every reason to be worried given the disaster on the immigration front this administration has allowed to unfold. And as colleague after colleague of mine pointed out, they can talk to local supervisors in their district that tell them, yeah, we've got some people here that are illegal, and they're registered, and they voted. So what is the big deal about saying we want to make sure in what we know is going to be a close election that only American citizens participate? That is incredible that is a controversial thing. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to conclude by, number one, thanking my friends that participated in the debate and worked so hard to present this. All we're trying to do is what you're asking us to do, keep the government open. This bill will do that. The controversial poison pill, as it's called, is simply saying, hey, if you're going to vote in a federal American election, you've got to be an American citizen. And we're asking you to provide some proof. We do that, as one of my friends pointed out, if you're under, I still get carded when I order a drink at a bar in some places. It's pretty flattering, but the requirement is there that I have to pull out my driver's license. I think it's a lot more important when we're talking about somebody voting in a consequential election that they be able to do that. So I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing. But if my friends want to go on record opposing that, that's up to them. I would hope my friends on my side of the aisle see the wisdom of keeping the government open, particularly a few weeks before an election, and see the importance of reaffirming that only American citizens can vote in American elections. We put those two things together. I think that's a very sensible thing to do, and I would urge the support of this legislation. With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman from Oklahoma yields. All time for debate has expired. Pursuant to House Resolution 1430, the previous question is ordered on the bill as amended. The question is on engrossment and third reading of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Third reading.
Bill making continuing appropriations for fiscal year 2025 and for other purposes.
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Connecticut seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I have a motion to recommit at the desk.
The clerk will now report the motion.
Mr. Laurel of Connecticut moves to recommit the bill H.R. 9494 to the Committee on Appropriations.
Pursuant to Clause 2B of Rule 19, the previous question is ordered on the motion to recommit. The question is on the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. Who's got it? The ayes have it. The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
With that, Mr. Speaker, I'd request the yeas and the nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, further proceedings on this question will be postponed. Proceedings will resume on questions previously postponed. Votes will be taken in the following order. The motion to recommit H.R. 5339. Passage of H.R. 5339 if ordered. Passage of H.R. 5179. Passage of H.R. 7909. The motion to recommit H.R. 9494 and passage of H.R. 9494 if ordered. The first electronic vote will be conducted as a 15-minute vote. Pursuant to Clause 9 of Rule 20, remaining electronic votes will be conducted as 5-minute votes. Pursuant to Rule 8 of Rule 20, Clause 8 of Rule 20, the unfinished business is the question on agreeing to the motion to recommit on H.R. 5339 offered by the gentleman from Michigan, Mr. Kildee, which the yeas and nays were ordered. The clerk will redesignate the motion.
Motion to recommit H.R. 5339, offered by Mr. Kildee of Michigan.
The question is on agreeing to the motion to recommit. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 15-minute vote.
members voted? Any member wish to change their vote? On this vote, the yeas are 206, the nays are 213. The motion is not adopted. The question is now on passage of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is passed, and without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
Mr.
For what
Speaker,
purposes does the gentlewoman from North Carolina seek recognition?
on that I request the yeas and the nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 5-minute vote. 1 minute remaining. 1 minute. All members voted. Does any member wish to change their vote? On this vote, the yeas are 217, the nays are 206. The bill is passed without objection. The motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, the unfinished business is a vote on passage of H.R. 5179, on which the yeas and nays are ordered. The clerk report the title of the bill.
Union Calendar Number 557, H.R. 5179, a bill to require the maintenance of the country of origin markings for imported goods produced in the West Bank or Gaza and for other purposes.
The question is on passage of the bill. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 5-minute vote. 231. The nays are 180. Passed without objection. A motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, the unfinished business is the vote on passage of H.R. 7909, on which the yeas and nays are ordered. Clerk will report the title of the bill.
Union Calendar number 547, H.R. 7909, a bill to amend the Immigration and Nationality Act to provide that aliens who have been convicted of or who have committed sex offenses or domestic violence are inadmissible and deportable.
The question is now on passage of the bill. Members record their votes by electronic device. This is a 5-minute vote. On this vote, the yeas are 266, the nays are 158. The bill is passed without objection. A motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, the unfinished business is the question of agreeing to the motion to recommit on H.R. 9494 offered by the gentlewoman from Connecticut, Ms. DeLauro, on which the yeas and nays were ordered. The clerk will redesignate the motion.
Motion to recommit H.R. 9494 offered by Ms. DeLauro of Connecticut.
The question is on agreeing to the motion to recommit. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 5-minute vote. On this vote, the yeas are 2. On this vote, the yeas are 209, the nays are 214. The motion is not adopted. The question on passage of the bill, those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The bill is passed.
Not now, she
For
said.
what purpose does the gentlewoman from Connecticut seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I request the yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. The sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their vote by electronic device. This is a 5-minute vote. On this vote, the yeas are 202. The nays are 220. 2 voting present. The bill is not passed. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table. We done?
All right. The chair lays before the House a communication.
Sir, on September 18, 2024, pursuant to Section 3307 of Title 40 United States Code, the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure met in open session, with a quorum being present, to consider 11 resolutions, including in the General Services Administration's capital investment and leasing programs. I've enclosed copies of the resolutions adopted by the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure on September 18, 2024. Signed sincerely, Sam Graves, Chairman.
Referred to the Committee on Appropriations. House will be in order. Members, please take your conversations elsewhere.